Now we're going to take a look at overheads as a cash flow lever. Overheads are sometimes known as fixed costs. These are the expenses of a business that will exist no matter how much is sold, even if nothing is sold. Examples of overhead costs are electricity, rent, and internet service.
So let's look at some tips for how we can improve our overheads or reduce our overheads. Let's, first of all, cut any subscriptions not being used. There are often subscriptions that we use for technology, for instance, that we really don't need, and sometimes there's subscriptions that we haven't used for a long while. Think about it. Does your business actually need to operate from a location? Some businesses are able to operate as location-independent businesses, and this means that they can reduce their overheads by the amount of their lease or their rent. It's possible too to outsource some processes or to make use of cheaper resources. Using online comparison sites can help you find the best prices for your utilities, and you're using their resources to help you find them. They're doing all the legwork for you. As are brokers who can find you the best deals on insurances and some other items. It's actually their job to find you the best price. Ask your suppliers for better terms and conditions. Until you know that you want to actually save money, you often don't think to do the very obvious, which is to ask for it.
Let's now look at some examples. A surfwear retail clothing store has a large floor space footprint in a popular part of the city. The rental lease is due for renewal soon, and options include taking a smaller area within the same location. This strategy was reinforced with building an online store presence and enabled the retailer to significantly reduce their overheads by having smaller rent payments. The reduced size of the store also reduced some of the other utility expenses as well. A physio clinic had large amounts of space. Sometimes the space was filled to capacity, but at other times there was space left unused. Rather than reducing the size of the area, the clinic decided to create a profit centre out of the excess capacity. They used the spare tables and hired them to a masseuse who specialised in sports massage. With a reconfiguration of their workspaces, they were able to easily fit Pilates and yoga sessions into the centre outside of the physio trading hours. In this way, they were able to encourage more foot traffic to the centre, which in turn meant that when physio services were required, the business was front of mind for customers and the logical choice. If your business has excess physical space, think about strategies for utilising that excess capacity and how creating income from it may be more beneficial than just eliminating costs. Mobile app developers often have lots of technology-based subscriptions. A regular review of subscriptions for one such business found that many costs were going out on a monthly basis for subscriptions that were no longer needed. Further than that, a review of those subscriptions found that some of the tech they were using, that they were subscribing to, was able to fulfill multiple functions. By eliminating those that were no longer used and reviewing the ones that were left, the costs for subscriptions were halved. Think about the costs that you have. Even as a virtual business, there may be some cost savings you can easily make without damaging your workflow.
So now let's take a look at the power of one. In our case example, our power of one shows that by reducing the overheads by 1%, we would actually make an improvement of over $12,000 in the overall cash flow position and operating profit of the business. In fact, by reducing our costs by 15.9%, it would actually be cash flow positive. But doing this is actually a really challenging thing. 16% is actually a lot of change in your business. You may be wondering why we are showing you just how much each lever would need to be shifted to actually be cash flow positive. It's because you actually get your advice from different places. You might get your marketing advice that helps you improve your volume, or we develop new products with our business coach. And we also tend to get advice from our accountants, who typically will look at overheads reduction and cost of goods sold reduction, and even reduction in stock days or work in progress as the key driving strategies for our cash flow strategy. But we know that it's all of these factors combined that actually influence our productivity, and they actually influence our cash flow. So it's those and timing that actually are needed for us to think about our cash flow. Our Power of One tool is available for you to take a deep dive into your own numbers to find out just which ones you should use to drive your strategy. So our takeaways are: get rid of unnecessary expenses, reduce where it doesn't compromise your operations or your service, allocate overheads to a profit centre so you know how much each item costs, and regularly review those costs. In the exercise for the overhead section, the focus is not on stripping down to the bare bones, but rather creating an environment where costs have been thought out carefully for the contribution they are making to the business and the value you are creating. Sometimes the costs are not directly related to creating value for your customers, but rather creating internal value within your business. And that's vital for the long-term future of the business in terms of its business valuation, but it's also vital for the current operations of your business and how your team actually manage to achieve the delivery of your product or service. By the end of this exercise, you should be able to immediately trim waste, and this alone usually creates at least a 5% improvement in the cash flow. You will also start to think about your business as a scalable enterprise with divisions. Even if it's very small, you can think about profit center calculators as a really good tool for making each of your products or services accountable for some of the overall costs of the business, including your director's drawings. So remember, if you need to have some help with any of the items that you've seen in our lessons, you can contact us at hello@cashflowers.com, or you can click on the link if you want the Power of One survey tool to be used for your numbers.